Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Chase Life with Kelly show. As you know, I'm your host, Kelly Chase. We have an amazing guest on the show with us today. I know I say that all the time, but because you guys know every guest of mine is amazing and I love it. But I was recently introduced to our guest, and I'm going to tell you all about her before we dive in. So, as a body, mind, soul mentor, Kristin Windsor lovingly leads beautiful souls to achieve the somatic emotions they long for while expanding the ecstatic love and liberated wholeness of their true self. You guys know we have been talking a lot about somatic, so we're going to dive a little deeper into that today. Kristin uses creative collisions between neuroscience and consciousness to intimately understand inner realities and create powerful transformation at the foundational depths of body, mind, and soul. She developed these original modalities through her self-led implicit revelations case study. Through over 20,000 hours in 5+ years of deep research and self-healing, she gradually created trifecta treasure trove models, which are now shared through a collection of products and services to serve and support the journey of others across the globe. Welcome to the show, Kristin. Hello.
Thank you. Hello. So grateful to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. When I received your email, honestly, a lot of stuff resonated with me, and personally, but also familiar, family dynamic. And we can probably talk a little bit about that offline. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, I was so intrigued by you healing yourself. And so I'm like, tell me all the things. I want to know your story. So I would love to hear how you even, not even just your healing, but everything. Tell me all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
Where do we start?
So we should start with a preface and a warning that this is the most miraculous and beautiful story that could ever be conceived. And I say that very objectively because part of my healing was from amnesia. And so I didn't know my story until fairly recently when I self-healed yet another thing of not being able to remember my entire life, including these years of healing and neuroscientific research. And so just a preface and a warning, I used to write, parts of me used to write fiction stories and straight up could not have come up with this story if I tried. So little preface. So my personal story is that I was age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then, ta-da, here I am in a brand new beginning of a life I've never lived. You know that feeling when you're a child and you have yet to learn what life is, who you are, what's possible. And that is the brand new beginning that I am at in my life. But the story I'm actually going to share with you is about my inner evolutionary hero. And that is the past version of myself that led me to being able to have this new beginning and this rebirth within my body, mind, and soul. And something that I always share with my clients is when you're shifting the story, when you're rebirthing your sense of self, when you're creating this transformation, you have to let go of a lot of the stories that you might carry, right? But we also don't want to dismiss the things we've gone through. And so it's this fine balance of holding space to honor everything we've gone through, everything we've experienced, the wisdom that we've gained, the miracle of the existence of who we are, while also saying, but I'm here and I'm now, and I can choose who I am moving forward. So I'm going to share this story in third person. And when I say my inner evolutionary hero and she, it's the past version of me, because that's not me. That's the self that led me to being able to be me. And a little fine-tuning difference. So we can start this journey. There's so many places we could start, but I'm going to go ahead and start it 7 years ago. My inner evolutionary hero had been struggling for 10 years with severe mental health challenges that did not have an understanding. And at that point, she'd literally seen over 100 different therapists and psychiatrists and gone through literally everything in the system, which is a very, God bless it, broken system that does not understand the human experience in any capacity of genuine loving awareness. And so after over 100 different doctors, you like, medical professionals, like these are the people you go to and you're like, these are the doctors who are to help you, and until you learn otherwise and expand beyond it, like at that point, she had no idea about personal development or like life coaching or like that didn't exist in her awareness at all, of her paradigm. And so after 10 years of really severe struggling, and I'm talking literally anything and everything that could have a description, eating disorders, panic attacks, anxiety, insomnia, depression, psychosis, dissociation. I'm talking literally everything in the book and things that don't even have names. And so after 10 years of that, it was just like a rock bottom point, and there had been massive amounts of complex trauma, multiple like physical assault, sexual assaults, and all these other kinds of traumas, relational traumas. I mean, like literally everything you can imagine going through had been compounding. And there came this point of like, I can't do this anymore. There has to be something else. And so she quit cold turkey, everything, all of her therapies, all of the medications she had been prescribed by all these psychiatrists. She quit everything and started researching neuroscience. And at that point, she'd never heard of neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
Like science was never something she was good at. She was like, it was so far out of her paradigm. And she was just like, there is nothing else. I have to do something different. I have to do something radically different. And within 2 weeks of researching neuroscience, she started to find answers for what she was experiencing. After 10 years of hundreds of people being like, well, don't know how to help you, man. Like,
Right.
And so that began the beginning of my implicit revelations case study. And that is like my pride and joy. And so we're at 7 years ago. Okay. So dealing with all these things that had been happening for a very long time, still didn't know why they were happening at all or how to help heal them. Like at that point, it was just, this is who I am, and I'm going to be struggling with this for the rest of my life, which she didn't think was going to be very long. Like there was so much suicidality and just like, I can't live like this, but there's no other way to live because this is my life, and no one had answers. And so it was just like, the epic rock bottom that launches your new beginning, right? The phoenix rising from the ashes status. So she started the implicit revelations case study, even though it wasn't called that at the time. And so at this point, she was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which was previously called multiple personality disorder. Like, low key, like the most misunderstood condition on the globe.
Right.
And she was basically told by these therapists and doctors, like, yeah, you have a bunch of different people inside of you because of childhood trauma. And she's like, I don't remember any childhood trauma. And now you're telling me I have different people inside of me, but you're not going to explain what that means or what to do about it. Like, it was just like chaos. Okay. And then to compound it, she started to lose the ability to create new memories. Severe anterograde amnesia. I'm talking like it was gradual and building up to it. It gradually developed over a few months of really severe complex trauma, just compounding. But it got to the point in 2018. Yeah, by 2018, it got to the point where literally every 5 seconds to 5 minutes, the brain reset and she had no idea who she was, where she was, what she was doing, couldn't remember what happened yesterday, couldn't remember what happened last week, last month, nothing, no sense of self. And so that was epic. Okay, so then she's going in, she's like, I'm all in. And she treated her healing journey like a full-time job. And there was a miracle that was blessing her with the opportunity to do that, long story short. And so sun up to sundown, it was, I have a 3-hour ritual to get grounded and feel my body. I have a 3-hour ritual to eat a meal and be regulated in the process. I have a 3-hour ritual, like, so it was she structured it. And during this time, she was teaching herself neuroscience every single day and piecing together all of her unique experiences. And in the process, she spent about 2,000 hours in self-hypnosis to get to the bottom of why had this condition developed in the first place. And it was because of suppressed childhood trauma that no one had known about. And so these things that had started at like age 9, 10, 11, 12, and then compounded to like a disabling degree between ages 14 and 24, it was all because of that suppressed childhood trauma that no one had known about. And so 2000 hours of self-hypnosis, and was gradually diving deeper and was able to uncover the details of that trauma and piece it together and process it. And in this journey, okay, so to add to like the super intense complexities, okay, so her memory was resetting every 5 seconds to 5 minutes, couldn't remember what was going on. And no autobiographical memories were being created, which means that, so there's 2 different kinds of memories, and you can let me know what you know about this or what resonates or what doesn't make sense. But there's the conscious memories that we have. And that's, yes, I remember on my shopping list, I have milk, eggs, and cookies. And yes, I remember last week I went to the zoo with Bob and Joe, and we spent 4 hours and it was 90 degrees and I got a slight sunburn, like the autobiographical things. Okay. But most of our memories are unconscious, and those are emotional and procedural memories in the body. And those can be summarized by saying there's patterns of feeling and movement. And so when you reach for the refrigerator, for example, there's a pattern of feeling and movement. Are you feeling apprehensive and nervous because you don't know if you have groceries? Are you excited and joyful because you know it's overflowing with groceries? Are you feeling nervous and apprehensive because you're trying to eat something to cope with anxiety? Are you feeling joyful because you're hungry and you're going to have a picnic? There's a pattern of feeling and movement behind everything we do. And those are coming from unconscious memories. Mm-hmm. And so during this time, my body was making unconscious memories, but not conscious memories. Right. So before I continue, do you have any questions about what I'm saying? I don't know if it's making sense, and then I'll go to the next piece.
It is making sense to me because I study subconscious, unconscious, conscious mind. Like I get that. Yes, I definitely understand that. Yeah, you did say something. So because you were forgetting consciously, but your body was remembering unconsciously, correct? Mm-hmm. So if someone were to ask you about yesterday, you couldn't remember, but the way you were behaving may have been a result of something that happened yesterday.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And one of the memories I recovered was my inner evolutionary hero would get a text message from someone and be like, hey, how you doing? Just following up from a couple days ago. You're having a really hard time, and I just wanted to see if you're okay. And her response was a full-blown panic attack, because she's like, I don't know this person and they know things about me. What was happening 2 days ago? Like, the terror and anxiety of not knowing was all pervasive in every cell of her body, not to mention the super complex, straight up the worst PTSD you can imagine. Like, every sound made her jump. Like, every little thing was dysregulating. Like, eating was the hardest thing in the world because you couldn't come to regulation. Like, I'm talking like the worst PTSD you can possibly imagine. Yeah. So, and then
I have one more question. You, again, it's very familiar to something I'm experiencing. Not individually, but someone I know. Anyways, you mentioned something about like a miracle of being able to do this self-regulation, right? Or this regulation, groundedness, 3 hours. Was that like a family member or someone who was supporting you while you were doing this? Because that is not something that's available for everyone. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I was very blessed to stay on my family's farm during this time. And so I didn't have to concern myself with a lot of the normal adulting things that might distract us from that full-time healing. And so this journey would not have been possible without that. That being said, though, it presented a lot of challenges, because living in this place where there had been so much pain and struggle was literally bringing up every possible trauma wound that was suppressed in the body mind. And so during this journey, I had a beautiful place to stay, and I'm very thankful for that. Basic needs were met to some degree. And then during this time, she was also doing one-on-one coaching with people, and she had a Patreon platform for her case study. So she was able to bring in some income through that as well to support her. But during this time, she wasn't working, my inner evolutionary hero wasn't working with anyone directly. And so the whole journey was herself and her. And there wasn't a lot of interacting with other people, like, at all. Like, wow. It was actually a bit of avoiding family a lot of the times, because she was like, I just need to go in and do my healing. So yeah.
Were they ever skeptical? Was your family like they were on like how did you even like present this to them to be like, hey, I have to go through something. I need you to support me, basically. Leave me alone.
Basically.
Like also
Yeah.
because I mean in what I'm saying I'm familiar with, it's like how I'm like trying not to like throw anything under the bus here. Using the language of
Like
let's
to
just say,
communicate the needs.
yeah, to communicate this. Like let's just say the person's name is Joey. So Joey has a very similar experience as to what I am sensing from you, right? What I'm hearing from you. But Joey's family, let's just say, is like, well, if you like Joey's saying like I'm fine, but I'm also not fine, right? And so Joey's family is saying, well, if you're fine, then you can support yourself, you can do these things, right? So it's like, how did you almost convince your family to just let you rest and let you heal without them being like, we'll go get a job and like do all the things, right? Like how
So that's a fascinating story because for a while it wasn't at that point. For a while it was exactly what you're saying. Like I'm not at all fine, but I'm fine enough to have to do these things. And that actually led to not being fine. And at the point that I moved back, or my inner evolutionary moved back, that time where she hit rock bottom, where the journey our story had kind of begun, it was at a point where she was homeless. And she had been denied disability. She had been staying with people, and multiple times the places that she lived had resulted in physical assaults. And that was the point of, oh, okay, you like legitimately need help. And through that process, from what I can remember, because there is still a bit that's lost from the amnesia, was she came in from almost a business perspective and had a mental health portfolio and said, these are all the things I'm struggling with. These are the goals of what I want to create for myself. This is my plan to do it. If I promise to be putting in 24/7 work like a full-time job in my healing, where I'm taking this seriously and I'm seeing transformation and I'm showing up and I'm doing the work, then will you support me, kind of a thing. It was kind of like there's definitely a loving relationship with that, but also like the boundaries of, you're not just getting this for nothing. Like you're not just going to be post up watching Netflix every day, you know, like if we're providing the space, you need to be doing something to move forward. And so it was kind of almost a business proposal in that sense, you know, from obviously a more love health based place. And there was a lot of challenges and a lot of growing and a lot of healing. And it was quite a journey.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Thank you. That answered my question. I'm sorry that you had to go, or that she had to go through that, you know?
And that was part of the interesting thing was, you know, looking at where we're headed in our story. And all the miracles and blessings that came from that is truly fascinating and quite humbling to look at the years of darkness that had to precede it. Because if there hadn't been that level of rock bottom and that level of struggle and that level of like, I've been in the healthcare system for years and I've been struggling with this homelessness and disability, and like I can't function, like I can't get out of bed, I can't feed myself, like physically, not to mention like being able to provide for self, like sort of thing. Like this is it. Like when she was, I think around 22, she literally was like, I will not survive till 30. So I'm just going to do what I can, enjoy my life as I can, and end my life when I can. And that was like the normalcy of everyday existence. And so to just see the intensity and how it's led to the massive transformation I'm about to share with you in these beautiful modalities, it's just like a real testament to the power of the soul and the knowing that we're here for a reason. And from the human perspective, that's not going to make sense. From the human perspective, that will not make sense. And that's okay. What's in front of you right now? What's the lesson, you know? And sometimes the lesson is, how deeply can you love yourself? How deeply can you breathe a flower and smell the smell stronger than any thought in your mind? How deeply can you appreciate the fact that the freaking sky is blue? Like, has anyone ever noticed that? Like, sometimes I still trip out about that. Like, why isn't it purple? Why is it always blue? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And when we come to this, like, just deeper knowing of the essence of who we are, which I'll talk about more as we continue, but it just brings us through this journey of knowing a deeper purpose for what we go through. And it won't make sense in the moment of it. But if you can hold on to that knowing, it can carry you through the impossible.
Yeah. What kept you from taking your life?
Nothing, just multiple failed attempts.
Mm.
Multiple failed attempts. And even just like, there were even friends at different periods that was like, I see how much you're suffering. Like, if I can help you transition in peace, like if that's really what you need, like I'll do what I can to look into, alternative things, because it was just constant suffering and no one understood why. Okay. So let's continue. So a few years ago, so here's the most beautiful and epic part. Okay. So there's all these struggles. Mind and body were completely disconnected. I'm talking a complete mind-body disconnect. The mind was in like anywhere between like 100 and 1,000 different like projections of like trauma-related thoughts. And the body was riddled with all these unprocessed somatic sensations, and neither were able to be connected with each other or feeling the present moment at all. I'm talking like zero. And then, so mind body disconnect, there was really severely split brain hemispheres. There's a split brain model that has been developed by some neuroscientists, and everything that was discovered through my implicit revelations case study basically just like confirms the legitimacy of all of it. Like literally experiencing the brain hemispheres one at a time for over a year, different periods before and after it was looking different. And then all the mental health challenges and disruptions and, not to mention the overwhelming somatic emotions. And that's something we'll talk about more in a little bit. But just that overwhelming grief and despair and just anger, like a level of anger where you're just like, you want to explode and you can't, because if you exploded and you exploded the whole earth and you exploded the whole galaxy, it wouldn't be enough to express what's exploding within you. like the most gnarly things, severe depression where you literally lift your head 2 inches and you're like, nope, that was a lot of energy. Not trying that again. Like, I'm talking the worst of the worst, right? As like the daily norm fact, like that's just it. That's what's happening. So on top of all of that, the most precious and sacred and miraculous challenge was chronic dissociative age regression. Because of the suppressed childhood trauma, the brain and the body would revert to their original stages of neurodevelopment. And this includes projections of navigation, right? So like when you're 3 feet tall and you look at other people who are 5, 6 feet tall, you have a way of associating with yourself and associating with other people. You're small, you don't know anything, right? And that kind of affects the way you think and feel and move and choose and everything. And then in the regulation, and so when you're a young child, you're in a right brain state, your language centers haven't fully developed, you don't know how to self-regulate, there's all this stuff going on. And so there was chronic reversion to this activity. The most intensive time when really diving deep into uncovering the suppressed trauma was age regressing to 6 months young, where she literally lost the physical ability to speak and walk because the body thought it was 6 months young.
Wow. Holy crow.
Yeah. Yeah. And just remember one time sitting on a swing at a neighbor's house, God bless that woman, so kind and lovely, sitting on a swing and just being like, is someone going to come pick me up and put me onto the ground because I can't reach it. Right. And of course, I'm obviously in a full grown woman's body.
Right.
The ground is obviously right there, but couldn't speak. So couldn't ask, hey, can you help me on the swing? Not that I needed it. Right. And couldn't walk. So, hey, can't put my feet on the ground and move. So just sitting on the swing, like, I'm 6 months young. This is where we're at. And if there was any reaction to that, if there was ever a moment of judgment, there would be anxiety. And so there had to be this radical acceptance of like, yeah, I'm 6 months young. And I'm going to love myself. And I'm going to let myself be 6 months young. Can't nobody stop me. um, and then age 2 and age 4 were the most common for the age regressing. And then also other ages, including early teenagehood. Okay. So there was all this going on. And then on top of it, there was chronic aphasia, where literally lost the physical ability to speak. And part of that was from the age regression. Part of it was from just all the trauma that had happened. And the language centers are in the left brain. When you go through traumas, your left brain gets shut down. There was also some head traumas that contributed to things. And so literally multiple forms of aphasia, couldn't physically speak. And there were times of just being able to say the word to, which is a very specific type of aphasia that learned about in neuroscience research. And so when you go to speak, it doesn't matter what you're trying to narrate in your mind. All that comes out is to, and two says everything. And with the loss of language, there's often the loss of internal language. And so imagine not being able to think to yourself. Imagine literally not being able to say to yourself, I'm going to go pick up this cup of water and drink it. And then you go do it. Like there's no capacity for inner dialogue. It's just emptiness in a way that feels terrifying. And plus really severe nervous system dysregulation, which resulted in severe oxygen deprivation. And so there's these chronic bouts of literally had one of those things you put on your finger and it assesses your oxygen levels and your heart rate and everything. And the oxygen would chronically dip down to like 80%, which is like below critical with like that's when you're supposed to be calling 911 as like a normal person. And so chronic oxygen deprivation. And so all of this compounded, and with all of it, she kept showing up every single day. She took hours of video notes because she knew she wasn't going to remember it. So she recorded all the observations of what she was experiencing, all the observations of what she was doing and what was working and what wasn't working, was researching neuroscience hours and hours every day. And because she couldn't remember anything, she developed systems to teach herself neuroscience anyways. And so she would read through books and have systems of highlighting and writing notes. And at first, it just led to anxiety because she'd go the next day, open the book and be like, I don't remember reading this. Who wrote in my book? How is this my handwriting when I have no memory of looking at this? Reading through and being like, I don't know any of this. I've never read this before. How is it highlighted? But she had the most amazing opportunity to learn about body memories in a new way because the body remembered learning neuroscience. The mind couldn't remember it, but the body remembered it. And so she'd be in these moments of recording these video notes and she'd be piecing things together based on what she taught herself, even though she couldn't consciously remember it. And she's like, yeah, this was an unconscious procedural memory that was disintegrated because of the connection of brain hemispheres and the dysregulation of the limbic system. And this stuff would come out in her video notes, but she had no memory of teaching herself it. So it's just like miracle after miracle. And so through all of this time, again, it was 24/7 healing. Like it's not like I'm going to go hang out with friends and go, maybe that happened a couple of times, but it was like 24/7 just inward. And that was it. 24/7 inward. Like, yeah, like where did it go? And a big part of the journey was mirrors. And so because she wasn't hanging out with people, she hung out with herself. And because she kept losing track of where she existed in time and space because of 5D types of dissociation, she would take a mirror with her everywhere she went and be like, oh, that's who I am. And during this time, forgot to mention the most epic miracle, 4 years, she could not recognize herself in a mirror. 4 years, she would look in a mirror and be terrified because she had no clue who she was seeing. Okay. So then she was able to find the suppressed childhood trauma, 2019, uncover the details of it, piece it together, and then things got worse. Things got worse because all of the trauma responses that had been suppressed were then coming to the surface. And there was a time, it was during, always the most magical transformations happened during Lionsgate Portal in August. It was during the Lionsgate Portal in August in 2019, and she went through a there's a couple things. One was a 50-hour dissociative blackout where she was reliving the core somatic sensations of the childhood trauma for 50 hours straight. And she knew she prepared herself for it. She had all her coping tools. She let everyone know, going through a thing, don't talk to me. It's not going to work. Just let me be in my little box shed out here and just I just have to go through this. And by that time she had learned enough to know that if she could practice presence and if she could practice self-love, then every moment of reliving the most horrific sensations you could possibly imagine would be transforming the brain body wiring to heal the foundation of everything she'd been struggling with for 10-20 years. And that was the most gnarly and intensive thing. And on the other side of it, there was a deeper level of healing. And then once that happened, then the age regressive states of consciousness could go through their halted neurodevelopment, because basically there was that childhood trauma. And then every time it became activated during childhood, there was kind of this other like fragmented processing of the neurodevelopment. And then there was another kind of age regressive state where like, this is a part of me that got stuck at 14. This is a part of me that got stuck at age 11. This is the part of me that got stuck when I was having difficulties with insomnia because my body was reliving this sexual abuse from age 4, right? And so getting to the core of all of it, once my inner evolutionary hero was able to transform the foundation of it by going through this 2,000-hour self-hypnosis journey of uncovering it, and then many more thousands of hours doing grounding rituals and mirror practices and stuff to process it, then the age regressive states of consciousness could progress through their halted neurodevelopment and neurodevelopmentally grow up, if you will. And so that began a new journey of leading these age regressive states to an adult self. And so in 2020, the foundation of all the trauma from childhood and adulthood had been processed and transmuted successfully. And then there was a new journey of reconnecting the mind and the body, which were disconnected because of all the fragments of unprocessed experiences, basically, and re-regulating all the systems, coming to a state of normalcy. For the previous 2 to 3 years, every time she ate food, she went into a dorsal vagal collapse because the low energy state of relaxation activated the suppressed trauma that she'd been digging up. And so the dorsal vagal collapse is that fawn or fold response. And it's worse than a freeze response, basically, because it's the sloth playing dead. It's the sloth who's literally playing dead. The heart rate goes down. You're literally in such a state of survival that you are pretending that you are dead because it's better than being alive in that moment. And so every single time that she ate food for 2 to 3 years, so, that's like 365 days times 3 meals a day, right? So like 1,000 times plus. She went in the dorsal vagal collapse that took about 2 hours to come out of. And that's when she would do the self-hypnosis, because she's like, I'm in the nervous system state where I can access the suppressed memories. So every time she ate food, she just prepared to go into a state of oxygen deprivation and dorsal vagal collapse and losing consciousness and going into this trauma-related blackout and using it for healing. And so in 2020, it was the next step of the journey. And again, all of this was self-led. It was just me, myself, and I, and also this chick. She's really cool. We spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of time together. Like all of our pictures were selfies like this. And so 2020 began that next step of the journey, reconnecting the mind and the body, re-regulating all the nervous systems. At this point, still living with anterograde amnesia, still couldn't remember stuff moment to moment, day to day, week to week, month to month, and guiding the age regressive states of consciousness home to their lovingly liberated self. So that was 2020. And then it got even more epic. That was like the first half, but we'll summarize it for time's sake. Then at the end of 2020, all of it had been knit back together. And the most amazing part is that everything that I'm sharing was healed using primarily one modality. One modality healed absolutely everything. All the mental health struggles, the mind-body disconnect, the aphasia, the loss of language centers, the trauma, the age regression, like all of it. One modality healed all of it. And I'll share about that. And so then at the end of 2020, it's all been knit back together. The mental health diagnoses, the struggles are winding down. Like they're not an issue so much. The mind and the body, they're getting along. They have some connection. All the different states of dissociation have become more unified, more connected, more grounded, more present. You're able to feel a present moment. Gradually started to be able to remember things moment to moment. The anterograde amnesia very, very slowly healing. It was a very gradual process. And she felt unified in kind of one state of personhood. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take my, my coaching business to the next level and have this full-time career. And she wrote this 500-page book manuscript sharing her new models. And she's doing these YouTube videos every day. And she's like, I got my life back, baby. Like we're cruising, we're grooving. I'm good. I'm on the other side of it. You see that? Like there were months of dissociative blackouts going through all this trauma processing. Like I did that. Like I haven't worked with a single other person and I made it here. And then it took her a couple months, but then she realized that she could not remember her entire life. It literally took months to be able to realize that. Because there'd been so many other challenges. Like what is normal at that point obviously isn't normal for the average person. And so it took her a few months, and she went to write the about me, the bio or whatever for her book manuscript. She submitted it to like 30 different publishers. Like she was all in, like going off on it. And it went and it was like, tell us about you. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable with that. Like, can't I just tell you about my ideas? Right. And it required this thing. And so she went through, and it took her quite a while to figure it out. But she's like, I don't remember my life. And so when you go to write an autobiographical about me, nothing came. It was like, my name is Kristin. That doesn't sound true. I'm this many years old. That doesn't sound true. I live here and I do this. That doesn't sound. Who are you? And at that point, she still could not recognize herself in a mirror. Look in a mirror. No clue who that is. Absolutely no clue. Like never seen you before. And at that point, she'd been doing mirror practices every single day for 2 to 6 hours. She still couldn't recognize herself in a mirror with all the brain healing. And so that began a whole new journey. And at that point, she had no memory of anything that I just shared. She had no memory of any of those experiences at all. And again, this whole journey was on her own. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my best friend. Oh, hey, guess what? I just realized like I don't remember my whole life. Like, oh, that's really interesting. What are you going to do? Like there was none of that. It was just like me in a mirror. It's just me in a mirror. And so that's when my implicit revelations case study officially began in terms of I actually remember doing it. And the journey that led from there was rediscovering everything that had been learned in the previous few years. And yet again, use that one modality, a single one modality to heal all of it. And I recovered my lifetime of memories without ever needing to look at any memories or experiences in order to rewrite and rebuild my brain. And the most astounding and miraculous part is that during those 4 to 5 years of anterograde amnesia and not being able to create new memories, there were fragmented sensations being processed every day. So when trying to look back at it, it was a trauma response, basically, where you relive the sensation of it, but you can't actually remember the experience in an autobiographical way that you can like talk about. And so 4 years where every moment of every day was being processed through these trauma type sensations stored in the body, those body memories, those somatic memories. And using this one singular modality, she was able to heal all of it and transform those memories. So all the unprocessed somatic and emotional and physical sensations and responses were processed and stored into memories, and transform it so that there were autobiographical memories with a sense of self where I can tell a story like I just told and say, this is something that I remember that happened and led up to me being here now. And to do that, she never had to work with any memories or past experiences just using one self-healing modality. And so at the beginning of this journey here with you and I said, my story is that I'm age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then boom, here I am in a brand new beginning of a life I've never lived. And that's because there was a point in the journey where it's like, okay, neurodevelopmentally, like I just came out of childhood. At the beginning of 2020, the brain and the body were about 4 years old. And towards the end of 2020, the brain and the body were about 15, 16 years old, neurodevelopmentally. And after that, couldn't remember anything from all of life, from those years of healing, from the original childhood, or from any of the years in between. And there was a choice. There was a choice. Okay, I could associate with myself and I'm healing from this gnarly trauma and this is what's happening. Or I could choose to write any story that I want because I have no memory of any story. So I can choose what story I write inside of my body in a way that then navigates my existence beyond awareness. And so the intention was never to recover memories. I'm not trying to remember my life. I have no interest in remembering my life. My life was mostly just a complex trauma response. I have no interest in remembering my life. I'm here to rewrite my life. And so now my brain and my body navigate where there's practices I use every day to keep it going, but my brain and my body navigate where my most recent memories in terms of what affects your sense of self and the way you think and feel and move and choose and respond and all that. My most recent memories are from age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then there's me here now. And that's the epitome of inner child liberation, where we tap into the foundation of our self-essence and we restructure and repattern our body to navigate from our truest self, which often gets restricted through our life. So I'd love to hear from you, any questions you have. And then I want to share about that one healing modality that changed everything.
Yeah, I'm just like, so like what?
It's a lot, and I really never know how to summarize it shorter because
no, that was great. No, and
it's such a complex journey.
Yeah, no, but you're such an eloquent speaker too. So wait, so you're 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those years you do remember?
Now I do, mostly. There's still gaps.
Okay, but anything before and after that you didn't up until now, basically.
So a couple of years ago, I didn't remember anything. Not the years of healing, not the childhood originally, not any of the adult or teenagehood in between. And then in the last couple of years, through this one journey that healed everything, I was able to recover all of the memories. The childhood ones were the hardest ones to recover, the hardest ones in the process of this healing practice, which doesn't require you looking at any past experiences or memories or anything specifically, but it rewrites them in a really profound, wonderful, quantum leaping sort of a way. All of the memories from the trauma stuff came back no problem. All of the trauma stuff came back no problem. It was the good memories that were the hardest and are still the hardest ones to remember. Like I can remember feeling like my life was about to end, like 200 trillion times, but to remember a day where I went to the beach with my friends and had a fun afternoon, that's really hard for me to remember. That's really hard for me to remember. And I can look at pictures and I can watch videos and I still am like, I have no idea who that is. I have no memory of that. I don't know. So the good memories and the childhood memories are the hardest ones for me to reconnect with. But that's why I love this modality, because that's exactly what it challenges you to do. And there's these moments that I will eternally love, where when I'm using this modality, including through mirror journeys, there was over 10,000 hours of talking and singing to myself in mirrors in the journey of rebuilding my brain. 10,000 hours. Yeah, we spent a little bit of time together. And even then it took so long to be able to recognize myself in a freaking mirror because how gnarly stuff was. But in that process, there are moments where the somatic emotional response of reunifying with the foundational essence of the who that you truly are, not the experience, not the trauma, not the health challenges, not the brain body dysregulation or disintegrated wiring, but the who, the essence of you, the soul self, the vibrational core beingness, that liberated inner child essence, the you that you really are. The somatic reunification leads to these moments where you are literally, well, I am literally full body laughing until you cry. Like someone could walk up and give you the greatest gift in the world, and it would not even compare to the level of beautiful emotions and beautiful somatic sensations that come from this. Because when we go through this life stuff, we can so easily become disconnected from the essence of who we are and not know about it, not know because it becomes our normalcy. Yeah.
So neat. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to it. I want to know about the what's your modality? Edge of my seat over
Amazing.
here.
Okay. So the backstory of it, and I'll try to share it briefly and then share about the actual modality itself, is a new understanding of body, mind, soul attachment theory. And if you or your listeners are curious, you can find a video that dives deeper into this and has the full thing on my YouTube channel. It's a masterclass, little mini masterclass video, goes into it, and it has all the beautiful pictures of my lovely diagrams on it you can dive into. But body, mind, soul attachment theory is basically this idea through my implicit revelations case study and trifecta treasure trove modalities, where when we're a young child and we're going through that process of attachment development, where there's a parent or caregiver, providing for your needs, there's this attachment bond that develops, right? But that is actually just the quantum catalyst for the internal attachment systems to develop. And so you can think of like the body, mind, and soul as having relational connections within the self through attachment systems or relational bonds, right? So like your brain hemispheres have a relational bond through the corpus callosum. The front and back parts of your brain have a relational bond or an attachment bond with each other. And that's how the awareness here and the basic survival sensations here can connect. And they're not just having their own separate realities. Conscious and unconscious memories have a relational attachment or a relational connection so that you can feel the somatics in your body and also consciously remember the experience in your mind. So there's these relational connections that allow us to experience everything. So my inner evolutionary hero was able to discover that everything she was struggling with was a disruption of navigation and regulation. And two big, bold, simple words. The regulation is the brain waves, the prefrontal cortex engagement, the frontal lobe activity, the nervous system regulation, cranial nerve functionality, heart rate variability, digestion, respiration, all the things in our brain and our body. That's regulation. Navigation is the structures that precede our thoughts, feelings, inner narrative, self-talk, inner dialogue, emotions, sensations, habits, choices, responses, personality, your sense of self, the who that you are within the expression of an experience. So navigation, regulation. So like every single thing, even the stuff that felt really different, right? Like losing the ability to like speak and walk, and then like having a panic attack that lasts 2 hours, and having insomnia with flashback and night terrors and age regressing, like all these things that kind of like on the surface, the experience might not have an obvious connection. All of them were a style of disrupted navigation and regulation. And then she's like, okay, well, what's the thing that knits those together, right? Okay, so we're getting somewhere, right? We kind of know, but we don't fully know. What holds the navigation and the regulation together? What determines that? And the discovery through the case study is that attachment needs and attachment systems and attachment well-being is what determines that. And so that starts when you're a child. And so disrupted attachment development was part of this because of the suppressed childhood trauma from age 4. And then, moments afterwards where there's these things coming up, but you don't know what to do about them because you don't know why they're happening. But then what happens is as we grow, we have these experiences, especially through socially engaging with other people. And those experiences either meet or do not meet our inner needs. And through the trifecta treasure trove modalities that I share, there's 4 attachment systems. The first one is built upon your need to feel seen, loved, treasured, appreciated, cherished, celebrated, valued, wanted, and with a sense of belonging. And that first attachment system does all the things. It attaches the back part of the brain to the front part of the brain. It attaches the right part of the brain to the left part brain. It attaches the low energy nervous system activity to the high energy. It attaches these things inside of you that let you experience health and well-being. And it attaches the aspects of you to the aspects of you. But if those parts of self aren't attached, then they're disconnected. And they're disconnected from the mind, disconnected from the body, disconnected from you, disconnected from the moment. And of course, that manifests in so many different sensations of experience. The second attachment system needs a felt sense of safety, security, sustenance, stability, protection, and provision. And so in those moments where you don't feel somatically safe inside of your body, the body mind is like, okay, I've got this pattern of navigation, this protocol of regulation, and this is how I know to orient my existence. And so the body mind is constantly helping you navigate and self-regulate based on the data that it has, which was gathered through these experiences in relation with those specific needs. So if you have this past moment where you don't feel safe, then there's a pattern of navigation and regulation, and then you're restless, and then you're worried, and then you feel rushed, and it comes in all these different things. So these patterns where you weren't seen and loved and valued and wanted, it comes up as, I don't deserve good things, and I'm unworthy, and I feel shame, and I feel guilt and embarrassment and depression and loneliness, and these things come up, and they manifest through these somatic emotions that we often don't have language for. We don't know what's happening, why it's happening, or what to do about it. And then the third attachment system needs a felt sense of support, connection, vulnerability, closeness, collaboration, and community. And so a lot of the times when you like look at the choices of people and the emotions of people, everything is based on these patterns of feeling and movement from unconscious memories that are navigating and self-regulating in relation with these attachment needs. And that's like all of humanity, all of the time. Every choice, every movement, every response, every like marketing gimmick that you see, it's like tailored to trigger your attachment needs. Like the thing behind the billboard is, you want to feel seen and loved, you want to feel safe and supported, buy the product, because they know how marketing knows is a great example. They know how to connect with your attachment needs. And when we look at the choices and the habits we try to change, it all comes down to how the body is trying to navigate and self-regulate your attachment needs. And the fourth attachment system needs that felt sense of respect, recognition, embrace, allowance, opportunity, space, direction, guidance, purpose, and importance. So, and then there's also these three layers, using a different angle of the model where you're tenderly held and abundantly taken care of. Once you feel tenderly held and abundantly taken care of, which happens during that original stage of neurodevelopment as a young child, then there's play and exploration and learning to use your imagination and explore and have adventures. And then based on that, then there's authentic self-expression. Okay, so these are all the attachment needs. So the one healing modality that changed my life, I never had to look back at trauma to heal it. I never had to focus on what was going wrong to transform it. And I self-healed every single challenge that I described here, and probably more that I didn't mention, through this one thing where it's just me, myself, and I hanging out in mirrors a lot of the time, like a crazy awesome person, but a crazy awesome person. I'd literally take this mirror with me everywhere, like go on walks up and down the street for like 2 hours every night. Like this was everything. The journey is recreating the process of attachment development, repairing the body, mind, soul attachments. And the thing is that when you have an experience with another person, it has a different neurophysiological effect than if you are just interacting with you. If you're like, I'm me and I want to feel seen and loved, I don't know how to see and love myself. That's when you're like, I need this other person to see and love me. And it's not usually obvious like that, but that's where you're like, oh, I'm going to get on the dating website, or, oh, I'm going to go make a new friend, or I'm going to go out to this community event and see if I can connect with anybody. And it's because the body mind's saying, hey, I need respect. I need recognition. I need to be seen. I need to be loved. I need to belong. I need to be supported. I need stability and connection. And it's all about relationships. And so the body mind relates with itself based on how it's learned to relate to other people. And that's that process of socially engaging during early life, where you're interacting with family and then, friends and peers and teachers and whatnot. And based on how they respect you and see you and love you and support you and help you feel safe and all that, then your body mind has, this is my state of navigation and regulation, right? And then that creates yourself and your life, the way you experience existence. And so the healing modality is different ways of practicing social self-engagement. Because if I am one person and I have the need to feel seen and loved, by definition, there has to be another person to see and love me. If I'm here as one person needing a sense of belonging, I have to have somewhere to belong with someone, which requires something outside of me. But on the journey of healing and like awakening, expansion, personal development, or whatever, it's all about bringing the power back within ourselves. And so we don't want to say, I need someone to see and love me. But at the foundation of our being, that's literally our neurophysiology.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
literally, our neurobiology says, but I need to feel seen and loved. Like, young babies, like the little babies, I think it's something that said, like, they're more worried about being abandoned than they are about being like physically dropped, right? Like the social inclination is so strong. And so the way that we do this is there's distinction and connection between parts of the self that nourish relational attachment bonds and fulfill internal needs for parts of the self. That one journey, played within a million different fun ways, rewires everything. And I mean everything. The most mind-blowing part is still the fact that I was able to integrate 4 years of memories and experiences that weren't being processed at all. And they were being processed through these fragmented body sensations where, a couple of years ago, if I tried to look back at those experiences, I would literally just melt and dissociate and lose all grounded association with any existence because my body would be reliving those sensations with no orientation in who I am. And so just the depths of the healing that is possible through this is mind-boggling. And it can be used for just so many different things. And so there's a part of the self and a part of the self, and they're like, hey, let's be friends, let's see each other, let's love each other, and it changes everything. That's obviously an overly simplification. There's lots of layers to it.
Right.
That's the simple answer of that.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, so you're creating an attachment with yourself, like versus like you're rewiring that, what did you say, like neurophysiology, whatever that word is.
Yeah.
To have the need come from the external. You're doing it to yourself, like you're creating the attachment with yourself versus needing to be seen by someone else and having that attachment with an external. You're creating the internal internally.
Exactly. And in that process too, because a lot of times what happens is when those needs aren't met, parts of the self either detach from its own self, which is where you get things like not being grounded or, that dissociation, or your mind's drifting some other place and your body's here in the moment, like those little things that so many people experience. It's just parts of the body mind not being connected, not having a relational association within itself. And so when those needs aren't met by anything, then that's what happens. When needs are met by outer sources, then the body mind says, I'm attached here. And that's where you get circumstances where, maybe you're trying to end a relationship, for example, that is unhealthy, but you just keep going back to that person. You don't know why. And you're trying to, change the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors, and you're not getting anywhere. It's because the body mind has learned a pattern of feeling and movement, and unconscious memories dictate over 80% of our emotions and choices unconsciously. And so the body mind has grown an attachment subconsciously or unconsciously and says, this is the source that fulfills the love that I need to survive. Like literally, this is the source that fulfills the love I need to survive. And we want to reteach the body mind to know that the love it needs is actually the love that it already is, which is sourced from within.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Ultimate self-love.
Yes, it's taking self-love to a whole new level. Like you can rebuild your brain and heal the impossible if you love yourself, right?
Yeah. So, one question that popped up for me while you were talking is, I am making an assumption with what I'm about to say, but I'm led to believe, based on what you have shared, that you experienced some very high-level traumas in your childhood. Do people that work with you have to have that experience, or could they just not have like little t traumas,
No.
little
Yeah.
t traumas
Yeah.
that still be dissociated and still be experiencing mental health issues and things like that.
Exactly. Yes. A lot of the people that I work with haven't had any major traumas. Actually, some do. And obviously, I know how to hold space for that and can understand it on multiple levels. But a lot of the times when we're going through stuff, it's more like balancing your energies. And so, like, if so one example is masculine, feminine energies, for example. So when you have masculine energy, it's this ability for focus and concentration, decisiveness, discipline, devotion, self-reliance, organization, self-accountability, structure, like trust in yourself, that empowerment, confidence, self-respect and stuff. And that's very much coming from the left brain hemisphere. And so if you want to experience that to a greater degree, it's this journey of re-sculpting how the left brain hemisphere actually navigates and self-regulates your life beyond awareness. And then the complementary counterpart to that is our feminine energy, which is more that relaxation, creativity, pleasure, surrender, spontaneity, laughter, play, pure beingness, trust in life, worthiness, joy, and like self-esteem and stuff. And that's really especially coming from the right brain hemisphere and the navigational networks in relation with attachment needs. And so one of the journeys, one of the purposes is just to activate those energies and bring greater harmony and unity for them. Another thing that I work with very intimately is identity and your sense of self. And that can look like so many different things. But basically, the way you associate with yourself is the way you're going to experience how you associate with everything else. The way you associate with a cup of water, as simple as it is, you have a relationship with that water that you drink, and you can put this to literally anything in existence. But that relationship is completely dependent on the association relationship you have with yourself that creates your identity. And so regardless of, the backstory that might lead to that present experience, if you want to expand that identity, and sometimes this is if we're in a journey of self-healing, and it doesn't have to be trauma. It can be, if you're going through a physical health healing and you've just associated your life with, I'm always having to heal, or I'm always in the, the state of whatever I'm going through, and you want to learn who you are beyond that. Or if you're in a journey of soul awakening and you're like, I want to know the essence of who I really am that has nothing to do with the experience. Or if you're, expanding in some area of life, you're building a new business, you're starting a new something, you're moving to another country, you want to up level your sense of identity so that you can match the life that you're creating. And so identity is something that I work with very intimately. Another one is really looking at the mind-body connection. If you want more unity in that mind, body, soul, so that your mind and your body feel like best friends and they're really supportive, and it's a really nourishing experience to have life lived through them, instead of like the mind having chatter or the body feeling uncomfortable. Maybe you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, or really judgmental about some part of your body, or difficult to take care of yourself because you don't necessarily love your body. Or if you're experiencing, your mind kind of drifting places, so it's hard to be present. Those are all different things that I serve and support my clients through. And then the most powerful one are somatic emotions. So everything we want to experience in life has to do with the way that it feels. We want a thriving career because we want to feel empowerment and joy and fulfillment and expression and connection, and to feel valuable. And, it all comes down to an emotion. We want to be in that relationship because we want to feel loved and treasured and held and have fun, and whatever it might be. Anything and everything we want in life comes down to the way we want to feel in that experience. And then you have people who are multimillionaires who have crippling anxiety and panic attacks. Totally. You have people who have these amazing careers and they are emotionally empty and unfulfilled. And so we know that the way we are able to experience these emotions and somatic sensations we crave and we long for has everything to do with the energy flows and structures of our inner realities. And so in the journey, what we're doing is we're, often the starting point is feeling, like your mind and your body are not a hospitable home to live in. Like right. One of the jokes that my past version of self, inner evolutionary hero, would say is like, I need a brain transplant. Like, I could do this life thing if I just had a brain that wasn't mine, because my brain is broken. And so we want a home and a body that feel like home. We want a mind and a body that feel like home, that feel supportive and nourishing and kind and gentle. And then from feeling at home within our mind and our body, we want to get to feel like our truest self. And a lot of the times we don't really know what that means. Like, one of the greatest revelations ever had was a few years ago, being like, I feel like myself.
Yeah.
I haven't felt that in 20 years. I literally feel like myself, and there's no other way to describe it, but like, I feel like me, and I haven't felt that in 20 years.
Wow.
And I feel like myself. It's one of those sensations where you're like, I wouldn't trade this feeling for the world. And the sensation where you're like, this feeling is everything. This feeling is everything, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's that level of feeling that we're after. And in order to get there, we have to transmute what's blocking our energy from flowing in that way, and then activate more of who we really are so that we can expand into being a container to house and flow that level of emotion, right? And so there used to be a point where I, or my past version of self, couldn't laugh, because every time there would be laughter, there would be full body sobbing and going into the greatest depths of grief, just grieving everything that had happened. But I had to process all of that grief in order to reach a place where I can laugh and feel joy. And now I can laugh. And every time I laugh the fact that I can laugh for the first time, which makes me laugh harder. And then I go on a laughing tangent, and it feels amazing.
Yeah. I love that.
And so, like, what we're really after is to feel that presence and that bliss and that worthiness and that power. Like, we want to feel power from within. We want to feel embodied in our power and our worthiness and our bliss and our presence and our freedom, peace, abundance, fulfillment, wholeness, and joy. And that comes from activating the truth of who we really are, the essence of our soul, and then kind of doing some rewiring, some rebirthing in these body-mind realities, so that the energy flows of the physical form can match the authentic essence of the self. Because the truth is that we are love's infinite freedom. We are love's sacred presence. We are love's transcendent bliss. We are love's divine worthiness. We are love's infinite power. We are love's sacred embodiment. We are love's transcendent peace. We are love's infinite abundance. We are love's divine fulfillment. We are love's transcendent wholeness. We are love's infinite joy. And if any of those things are not the natural state of your experience on a 24/7 basis, with occasional dips because life is life, but as the natural set point you return to on a daily or at least consistent basis, then there's some inner restructuring to do, because that is our natural state of being. That is the truth of who we are.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I can like feel your glow. Yeah.
Hearing all the glow.
Yeah. That is just, it's like I have to process everything that you just said, but I'm like, yes, I understand it, because although no, do I practice it every day? Do I have so much work to do in these areas? Sure. But I'm aware of it. I am aware, my listeners may not be. And that's why I think probably I've had 2 girls on now to talk about somatics, and just, but that was definitely more in depth. Just thank you for sharing so much of your story about it. I love that. I think storytelling is what helps people understand what these modalities are, and just understand life better. It's just profound to hear that. Like I said, I feel like very connected with you in a way, because I experienced something like, I'm going to have a conversation with you offline about it. But it's just really fascinating to hear, and how much I'm like deeply just like, yes. Yes. Like, when you were just going through those like affirmations, in a sense, like I was like, okay, thinking about, you're right. Like, yeah, we are in this human experience. So of course we're going to have those dips, but overall, should we be feeling that joy, that passion, purpose, just overwhelmed with happiness, peace, enlightenment, things like that? Yes, I do truly believe that and when you mentioned even like the sky being very blue, right? And it's like people laugh at me because I love going for walks. And when I'm on my walks, I'm not power walking. I'm not one of those types of people. Like, yes, sometimes I'll walk fast, but most of the time I am like leisurely walking, and I will stop to acknowledge like the veins in the leaves of a plant or the leaves of a tree, or the bark on a tree. And like, I'm just such like I'm so grateful that I get to experience that, right? And like with that, it helps me have so much more joy because that gratitude is presencing me. It's making me like everything else doesn't matter at that point because I'm so intrigued by the bark or the flower petals or whatever, element that I'm looking at. And when in those moments, I feel that such surreal peace come over my body. And then I do events like a speaking event, or I did a bikini like fashion show a handful like 2 months ago. And I'm like walking the stage like I owned the fucking place. And I was like, I am here. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I am here, and like I was so in like my power. I felt so confident. And I even was having some like body image issues that day because I had eaten something 2 nights before that I shouldn't have eaten, let's put it that way. And it was like, I was bloated and I was like, I don't care. I'm wearing angel wings and I'm strutting myself on a runway right now. Like, so happy. And like people commented, like when I shared pictures and videos from that night, they commented to me like, I can feel you in these pictures. And I'm like, that's what I want people. I've been on this whole spiritual awakening, personal development journey since 2017, 18, more so 2018. And just the way that I have been able to shift. Like I remember a friend of mine coming up to me in like 2019, I think, or 2020. And he goes, Kelly, there's sometimes that you talk about your journey as far as like it sounds like you were like super depressed and like not happy. And I've never known that version of you. You've always been happy. Like you've always been this like super like happy-go-lucky, positive little bubbly butterfly. And I was like, yeah, like I was happy, but I'm like happy now.
Okay, I want to say one thing on that. I love everything you're sharing. With that, it's the difference between the authentic essence of the self being a full expression of embodiment versus I'm a person and I'm happy. There's a difference. There's a difference. And from the outside, it won't necessarily notice it unless you have that level of awareness. But I totally get that. Like, even if you haven't been to the greatest depths of darkness or anything, you're like, yeah, things were good. Once you get to that place, you literally get to experience heaven on earth, moments of sensation in the cells of your body that transcends anything the mind can describe. When you're on that stage and you are embodied in your power, you are the fullest expression of the divine, no matter what the details are, because you're being you and you're radiating your essence across that in a way that is tangibly felt through the electromagnetic field of consciousness. And when you're pausing to notice the veins on that leaf, you are in full union with the essence of life itself. And the combination of the union with life and the individuation of your embodied confidence is the perfect union of masculine and feminine energies through the mind and the body. And that's just a further evolutionary step of the soul's journey, because that's a big goal of the soul, is to have full union with all these aspects of self and parts of the body mind. So that is beautiful. And I love that.
Thank you. I love that. That was a great explanation too. Yes. Oh my God. This has been so excellent. Like, I mean, literally, I just like, it's so, I get, pitched, to be guest on my podcast and things. And like, sometimes I'm just like, no, it's just a no. And I was like reading and I just felt you like through your words, but also like, again, I think I was like, something about this I need personally too. So I'm very grateful that, that you reached out. I think God puts people in your life when you're supposed to meet them.
Yes. Amen. Yes. And I'm so, so grateful to be here. I really enjoyed sharing this.
Yes. No, thank you. Is there anything else? I mean, obviously if there's programs, product, service, anything like that, obviously tell us about it, but is there anything else you want to add to what you just said before you do that.
I mean, if we have another 5 hours, I can give you all the step-by-step details of how to transform your life. No, I will, one closing thought, and then I'll share one of the services that I'm offering at this time is when you personally, anyone in your audience, speaking to some version of me that will probably listen to this episode later, when you are in a journey and you're like, there's something that needs to change. There's some level of emotion I want to experience differently. And that could be something not good. You're like, I'm done with this. Or it could be something good you want more of. And you're like, that moment. Okay, so this morning I went for a bike ride and there was some logical part of me that's like, I should be, actively on my social media networks, marketing my services. I should be preparing that reel that's calling in my client. I should be getting these things. I should probably clean the house. I should probably do a live that prepares me for this pod. Like there is that like logical mind. And my body said, hey, how about you go enjoy life? And by embodying your essence, you'll be prepared for everything. So I was like, okay, cool. So I went for this 1.5 hour long bike ride. And there was this moment of watching these ground squirrels run out from their holes across the cornfield and across the road. And I kid you not, I experienced more joy in those 2 minutes than I probably have in like if you were to take all my childhood experiences of going to amusement parks and going on roller coasters and those fun rides, you wait 2.5 hours in line to be on a ride for 30 seconds, more joy than any of that. Because of the somatic shift of how the body, mind, soul naturally navigates existence. We are here to bring heaven to earth. That is the purpose at this time of transition on a global scale of human consciousness. And for the people who are awakening to that potential, the core journey is rebirthing body, mind, soul, so you can experience somatic emotions that feel like heaven on earth. You have to be able to feel it in your body in a way that is literally inside of your body, inside of your gut brain, inside of your reptilian brain, inside of your unconscious memories and trillions of networks. And in order to do that, it starts with love and it starts with presence. And no matter how deep your journey might dive, no matter how much work you might have to do in rewiring decades of trauma, no matter how much expansion you might desire to become a multimillionaire and have a big giant company that's transforming the lives of millions of people, no matter who you are, where you're at, the journey begins with love and presence. And then from there, it's about nourishing the relational connections you have with all of you. What is the relationship between your mind and your body? What is the relationship between your masculine energy and your feminine energy? What is the relationship between your awareness of self and your experiencer of self? What is the relationship between the self existing in the present moment and the foundational childhood self who has all these attachment needs? And then once you start to notice your inner relationships through distinction and connection between different aspects of self in different parts of the body, mind, and this is something my modality specifically dive deep into, how can you start to fulfill your own attachment needs by engaging with yourself like you would engage with a romantic partner, like you would engage with a best friend, like you would engage with a little child, right? One of the most powerful memories that I recovered was, because she was practicing all of this before I had memories being created, is my inner evolutionary hero looked into the room where all these years of transformation had happened with like no memory of them consciously, but the body remembered and she knew that. And instead of being the self who's like, yeah, this is my room and I walk in here every day and it is what it is and it's this little tiny shed that I've totally changed my life in, she walked in and imagined that she'd never seen it before and she was seeing the experiencer of her for the first time. And she started crying. And she was like, those are the tapestries that my Kristin sees every day. That's the bed that my Kristin wakes up in every day. That's the laptop that my Kristin uses to make her videos. That's the journal and the notebook that my Kristin goes in and she writes in there. And she writes all her thoughts that no one ever hears. And that's the closet where clothes hang that gets to be on the body of my Kristin. And there's this development of an attachment bond with yourself. Can you see yourself? Not see you like, yeah, it's me. I see me every day. Of course, this is who I am. Obviously, this is who I am. I've been existing for decades. Like it's a given. I take myself for granted because I know that I already exist. So why would I take time to appreciate the fact that I exist when I exist all of the time? And you start to take yourself for granted because you're always existing and you don't notice the mirrored reflection of your own existence. But what if you didn't know that you existed? What if this was the very last day of your life and there was no other human being around and it was the final moments of your existence and you just wanted to feel seen and loved and you were the only one who could provide that for you? Or flip side, what if this was the very first day of the rest of your life? You had never socially engaged with any other human being on the planet, and in order to launch the next step of your life, all you have to do is start seeing and loving yourself. And those were the two prompts that my inner evolutionary hero played with on a daily basis. Every day she woke up, she said, how would I live if this was my first day on earth, which it basically was because she couldn't remember her life. And how would this feel? How would I live? How would I show up? How would I enjoy my life? How would I show up for my purpose? How would I show up in each moment if this was my last day on earth? And that was a beautiful coping mechanism because the only way we know how to project a future is based on our past, because the body mind is using memories to navigate. And so when you see people and they're like, yeah, I've got these plans for August and I'm traveling in September and I know where I'll be in December and I've got some ideas about next April. That's not something my body mind could do because it had no memory of ever existing in a next month from now. It had no memory of ever existing in a last month from now. And so even now when I look on a calendar, I'm just like, there's time and it exists and there's going to be more of it, right? Like, oh my God, like that's a new theory for me. That's not something that I feel like I'm familiar with. And so every single day for several years, she woke up and said, how would I live? Who would I choose to be if this was the very first day of my life, which it was because she couldn't remember. And if this was the last day of my life, which it felt like it was because she couldn't imagine a future because she couldn't remember a good past that was worth remembering. And so when you hold space to see yourself, to love yourself from that distant perspective where you're seeing yourself from that third person, not dissociated, but with distinction. You know, when you're in a conversation with a best friend, you're not dissociated from the experience, but the manner in which you engage is you're seeing and appreciating them from an outside perspective, right? And so we kind of practice and mirror that idea with ourselves. It's the same concept of like, a mother and her young child. That young child is going to do a fingerprinting or finger painting, and it's going to look ugly as crap. It's going to be a bunch of blobs that mean nothing. That mom, oh my God, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm going to hang it on the fridge for all of eternity. I made that child, you know? We want to have that kind of relationship with ourselves. And so you look at something you've created, if you look at your podcast or something that you've created and you're like, yeah, that's me and I did it and it's my work and I'm normal and it's used to it. That's cool. Okay, but what if you pause, step back, imagine you don't know anything. And after not seeing anything in all of existence, you look at that podcast and you're like, oh my goddess. Look at the brilliance. Look at the beauty. Look at the power. Look at the value. Look at the intention. Look at how she shows up. And she gets to just be, oh my goodness, she's amazing. And you start to see yourself from that light and celebrate yourself from that light and respect yourself from that light. And then when there's outside messages, it's like, you don't matter.
Right.
And there's this easier way to be true to yourself because there is a self to be true to, and not just a collage of projections from all these experiences where the way that those people did or did not respect you or did or did not love you has made patterns of energy in your body that now tell you how to navigate your existence. Yeah. And once you start to support and love yourself and value yourself and help all of you feel wanted and with belonging in a somatic way, you get to a place where that's all you want. Where any other thing, traveling the world and walking on those stages and doing all, that's a cherry on top. But all the somatic emotions that you desire are being felt from the wholeness, the liberated wholeness and the ecstatic love of your own inner being. So I just leave you and the audience with create relational connections with yourself through love and presence and start to somatically sense the fulfillment of your attachment needs, those needs to feel seen, loved, treasured, appreciated, celebrated, valued, wanted, with belonging, safety, security, sustenance, stability, protection, provision, support, connection, vulnerability, closeness, collaboration, community, respect, recognition, embrace, allowance, opportunity, space, direction, guidance, purpose, and importance. I know that's a long list, but those are the attachment needs that we have. And when you can start to somatically feel that through your own love, it changes everything.
That was amazing. I just want a standing ovation for you.
So much. And I know we kind of went over our time, so I'm just going to briefly.
It's fine.
Okay, great.
There's no time. I just, whatever. I'd never.
Ballpark.
I trust right. I think I've had an episode for like 2.5 hours on here one time. I was like, I don't know.
Okay, cool.
And I just kept rolling with it. I was like, let's go.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Because my little background masculine was like, came in with a plan. We've gone over a limit. Roger, mayday.
No, it's fine. This was, so amazing. It really, really was. I want to ask you about your program or what you wanted to offer, but like, how do people work with you? And how do people work with you? And what does that program look like? Like, what are you doing, I guess, with them? Is it what's the duration? What's all of that?
Well, if we don't have a time limit, I'll share a little bit about it. And then I'd love to briefly mention, if we can go a little bit longer, about a couple of the modalities they've developed, because they're mind-blowing in a low-key way. So a little bit about the journey itself. My primary services are through a 3 or 6 month one-on-one body, mind, soul mentorship through a program I've created called Reborn as Infinite Love, becoming known through your body, mind, soul's treasure trove. And this journey has the general intention to transform somatic emotions that you don't want to experience and expand into the somatic emotions that you do want to experience. But within that, we're exploring, improving that mind-body connection, improving the flow of that masculine, feminine energy, nourishing the inner child, doing the inner child healing, expanding your identity and your sense of self right here, right now, improving your mental, emotional health. All of that kind of comes in this little package deal. And with that journey, it includes the weekly sessions, daily practices, and access to a library of playbooks, because who wants a workbook when you can have a playbook, and self-guided journeys as well. And those can be referenced during and beyond our time together. And the structure of this, and this is where I'll share a little bit about the program and then a mention of a couple of the original modalities I've developed through this wonder-filled healing journey, which I don't know, last I checked, I was 12. So that's all that matters, is through this program. The first step is body, mind, soul treasure mapping. We literally treasure map the miracles of body, mind, soul. And it's through these diagrams, and they're simple, they're fun, they're colorful, but just these little tiny shapes knitted together, neatly intertwine neuroscience and consciousness. And so it includes information about the brain hemispheres, which again, I studied in intimate depth because I had completely split brain hemispheres and experienced them individually. So I got to study what's actually happening in the brain hemispheres individually and how they interact with each other. So it includes the information of brain hemispheres, the triune brain, the front, middle, back parts of the brain, brain waves, nervous systems, and how the autonomic nervous system reaches into the other regulation. And so if you have brainwave dysregulation or cranial nerve dysfunction, for example, we can look at the relation with the autonomic nervous system. And so it really goes deep into the neuroscience and consciousness. We explore the body memories in depth. That's a huge focus of it. We explore unconscious, emotional, and procedural memories, which are really patterns of navigation held in the unconscious, subconscious body. And we explore consciousness and how infinite awareness of consciousness is navigating infinite energy, the perception, reception, extension, and sustainment of energy in personal experience. We explore the essence of the soul, the identity of the self within and beyond human form. So there's like a lot of things intertwined, but like that can be really complicated and overwhelming. And like, how does that correlate with the thought that I had yesterday that I want to change? So here we come in with treasure maps. And so when you learn about the brain hemispheres and the triune brain and the unconscious memories and the nervous system and the essence of consciousness and the identity of your soul, you can visually see it in a simple illustration of a colorful drawing. And you can literally point and be like, that heart is that part of me. that line is the unconscious memory pattern, right? And you get it to have it be really simple and really easy and really fun to understand. And so body, mind, soul treasure mapping is a big piece of the journey. And that's where you get to understand your sensation, right? Like if you have a sensation of, let's see, I wrote down an example. If you have a sensation where you're struggling to feel enjoyment in your body, okay? So let's say you're at like a dance party and everyone's dancing and you look around. This is something my inner evolutionary hero used to do. Like she was really heavy into like alcohol and drugs just to feel comfortable in her own body, right? Like that was a heavy thing for a very long time. Don't want or need that now because the feeling of my own soul is like ecstasy beyond what ecstasy could do. But in this example, if you're dancing and you look around and everyone's having fun and they're relaxed in their body and they're moving and they're flowing and you're like, I want to feel that, but I don't know how, right? Or you dance and you're like, I feel really awkward and you're really self-conscious and kind of embarrassed and you're not able to have fun being in your body, right? Or any other sensation where having enjoyment or pleasure or satisfaction in the moment of experience depends on you being fully in your body, right? There's so much to that. And so we can look at that from all the different angles of what's happening and understand it through creative collisions between neuroscience and consciousness and be like, okay, there's unconscious patterns of feeling and movement from past moments where you didn't feel the fulfillment of those attachment needs. And that's navigating life beyond awareness. And at the deeper depths of it, there's a sense of some kind of disruption within your worthiness. Because when you are fully grounded in your worthiness, you're simultaneously fully grounded in your body. They go hand in hand. And so when you are grounded in your worthiness, when you're tuned with your feminine energy, when you're in a place where you feel supported and connected and seen and loved, then you're able to go into a setting like that and dance and have fun and not care how you look and just act a fool and just have fun feeling good inside of your body. But when those feelings aren't met, when those sensations aren't flowing right, or those energies aren't flowing right, like you'll walk in and be like, how is everyone just so comfortable being in their body? And they're not even dancing well, but they're having fun. Like, how do I do that? How do I get there? Right. So that's like one example. And so there's these sensations of everyday life. And so we bring them in and we say, okay, there's the sensation of experience. Let's explore who the essence of you really is, because you are not the experience. The who of you has nothing to do with what you're experiencing or how you are experiencing it at all. And so once you ground in the identity of your true self, then you can explore what's happening in the brain and the body to actually create this experience. And then once we have that awareness, now is, okay, we're not even worried about what that sensation is. We're looking at the wiring and we're going to transform this while expanding your identity. And then not only will that change, but a million other things will improve as well. And so that's body, mind, soul treasure mapping. And that's something that's available through my one-on-one services through the 3 or 6 month journey. And that's one of the modalities that was birthed through this miracle healing. And then based on everything that's unveiled through the treasure mapping, there's personalized play prompt prescriptions, right? Like, you go to the doctor and you're prescribed glasses. You go to the doctor, you prescribe that pill. No, you get to be prescribed play, okay? And this was literally the exact journey that my inner evolutionary hero created for herself to heal everything. She would treasure map what was happening. She'd prescribe herself play, practice it every day, rewire it. And so a foundation of the play prompt prescriptions are that nourishing your relational connections within the self and fulfilling those attachment needs in a somatic way. And so I've developed hundreds of practices used for different purposes. And so from those, there's a personalized play prompt prescription. And then that's like the journey, and you're starting to get comfortable, you ease into it, and then boom, wait for it. There's more. Then there are guided marathon journeys. And so one of my favorite things is a modality that was developed through this implicit revelations case study called the subconscious unveiling and transformation technique. And to this day, it still blows my mind, which is why it's fun to talk about it. When you look in a mirror, you are not ever seeing yourself as you actually exist. You will never in your entire life look in a mirror and objectively see your own existence. You will always look in a mirror and see a navigational projection from your body and mind that is interpreting and navigating the moment. And that determines how you'll just kind of see your face and connect with yourself. And then simultaneously, when you look into the colored region of your eyes, you will be able to see the essence of your soul within its human expression and embodiment. And so there's always two realities happening. There's the magical hearts, that's the essence and the identity of the self, the substance of the soul. And then there's all these magical lines, the wiring of the body mind that's affecting the navigation and regulation of your existence from the inside out. And so when you look in a mirror, you can unveil two things. You can unveil how the body mind is navigating self and life beyond awareness. You can unveil the well-being of trillions of energetic pathways carrying body memories from your entire life. And you can unveil the essence of your true self, which is hard to connect with when you have thoughts and you have feelings and you have stuff going on and you got to go to the grocery store and you got to go return the library book and there's this mind chatter and, oh, that's a really uncomfortable sensation in my body. Someone make it stop. And like, how do you like connect with the substance of your soul through that, right? So that's what we do in this. And so the subconscious unveiling technique is a collision between brain spotting and a shamanic soul retrieval, an original technique I developed that was the core foundation of the miracle healing that I achieved in my own journey. And it allows you to look in mirrors through over 200 different mirror coordinates, which unveil specific energies of wiring in the body mind. You can unveil the data from age 4. You can unveil the data from that suppressed trauma. You can unveil the data from that distorted masculine energy. You can unveil the energy of it. And as soon as it's unveiled, you can rewire it, because neuroscience knows that as soon as something's activated, it's already being rewired. It's just most of the time it's being rewired with the same information, which is why if you struggle with anxiety, for example, the anxiety comes up, there's these energy pathways creating the anxiety. And as soon as that's activated and you're in the anxiety, all that data is being rewired. But it's being rewired with the same information because you're stuck in the anxiety. Okay. And so the goal is let's activate it and rewire it. And this is how I was able to transform all of this complex trauma without ever looking at past experiences. I unveiled the activation of its energetic data, and then I just made it into something new. And so that's what the Mirathon journeys allow us to do, while simultaneously having this deeper union with the essence of self. And that is through the process of soul awakening and spiritual awakening, where you're like, oh, wait, like I'm this like vibrational energy of consciousness that's like infinite and eternal. And I chose to come into this body before I was born. Why?
Right.
And you're like, okay, but who am I? And who am I meant to be is the bigger question, is not who am I based on what I've experienced, but who am I meant to be based on what my soul intended before I came here? And how can I anchor that into the navigation and regulation of my body mind so that my body and the experience of my body is a reflection of my soul. And so that my mind and the home of my mind and the experience of my mind is a reflection of my soul. Like, what would that even look like? And so that's what the Mirathon journeys allow us to do. And so the guided Mirathon experiences allow us to unveil data, to be rewired in the body mind and reunify, reassociate, reconnect with the aspects of self. And then there's also mirror practices you do on your own to, again, nourish those relational connections and fulfill those attachment needs. So probably a deeper dive than was necessary, but I just love talking about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate you expanding on each of those. That's so neat.
Yeah, because they're new modalities. So if I just summarize them, it doesn't really do it justice of the potential of all of this. And so basically from the recipient's perspective, you know, there's these amazing conversations. You get to have treasure maps to understand your inner realities. You have daily practices to nourish relational connections with you and help all of you feel seen and loved and respected and embraced. And then on the other side of that, you've rewired the foundation of your being to transform any disruptions in mental, emotional health, mind-body connection, masculine, feminine energies, how past experiences or traumas now affect you. And you're able to expand and experience more of, I have it somewhere. I had a little note thing. I had all the magical things. More the kind, supportive, expansive thoughts, those light, nourishing, fulfilling emotions, that transcendent peace, rejuvenating stillness, the spacious purity of absolute presence. Like the reason that kids are so happy is because they're in a present moment. And like that's like the simplest thing that's lost. You know, how often are you engaging in something, but your mind's focused on the past or the future, even if it's like a little moment or some degree or just well, I have to be responsible. I have to plan for, okay, but are you actually feeling the ground you're walking on? Are you actually seeing what's in front of you? And, you know, there's times where, yes, we have to do that because we have to process the past or plan for the future. But if that's your natural state of normal existence, you're missing out on your entire life. Like, think about that. Like, imagine missing out on your entire life because you don't know how to be present in your mind and your body. And you won't even know it because you thought you were living your life when you were really just living in a moment that was never there.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have that expanded state of bliss and freedom and joy. It was always so funny in this moments of self-healing. I'd climb a tree and like sit up there for an hour, just like meditating and like practicing love and presence to rewire and heal myself. And I was in a greater state of bliss than like people who were like living their life and doing the things. Like I see all these people with all the fancy stuff, and they're miserable and they're unhappy and they're not present and they're like, you know, going through all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm a tree. And so to just to be able to tap into that, like even when like going to a store or something, like it's such a normal thing. And I walk around and I look at everyone and I literally feel like I'm watching robots, and it kind of breaks my heart. And then there I am, like, okay, get this. I had no memory of ever being in a store before, right? Okay. So imagine like a little kid walking in a store, no idea that there were all of these things in one places where you could walk in and pick anything you want and then like have it and exchange like a thing for a thing and then like have something new that you didn't have before. Okay. I had no memory of ever going to a store. I had no memory of ever going shopping. I had no memory of ever doing anything. And so even now I go to a store and I'm just like, practice the memory loss, practice how mind blown and awestruck and wonder filled and the magic that you experienced when you had no memory of it. Because now obviously I have some memory of it from recently. But when I walk into a store, to tap into that childhood state of bliss and to just find awe and wonder in the everyday existence of our beingness. Like when I went for the bike ride this morning and I saw the ground squirrels, I was literally squealing with joy. I mean, in my mind, people from miles away could hear my joy. Like I was literally like squealing. To be able to feel that again, to be able to know what it feels like to enjoy being alive. And that might not be a 24/7 thing, right? Because we go through stuff and we have responsibilities and we go through things that can be really challenging. Like something I've been going through is healing from difficulty in vision in my right eye because something in my neck was really out of place. And there's all this chronic pain and right out of my right eye was blurry. And so like we go through things, but you know, and I'm not dismissing that and saying I don't go through them too, but to be able to consciously attune with that, to be able to say, I'm going to go on a bike ride and I'm going to be so fully in the moment. And I'm going to look at, like you were saying, the veins on the leaf. And I love that you mentioned that. I kind of died a little inside when you said that with happiness. When my inner evolutionary hero was learning to practice presence, because she literally couldn't feel presence with the mind-body disconnect and the trauma, she had a daily ritual of going and finding a leaf and watching every single vein in it until she could see the leaf stronger than she could hear her thoughts. And at that point, that was a big challenge. Now, my mind is quiet all of the time. I don't even need to meditate anymore because I've rewired my brain to be in a meditative state all of the time. But back then it was absolutely impossible to get to stillness. She had no idea what that could potentially even feel like. And so she had these grounding rituals and she'd go to the nearby walking trail and she'd find a bug and she'd drop everything and she'd squat down and she would watch that little worm crawl for maybe 45 minutes. It's like 45 minutes of watching a worm crawl because she would dedicate herself to watching the moment of nature until she could actually feel the moment because she couldn't. For that first 40 minutes, she couldn't. And then finally there's that breakthrough. She's like, I can actually see the worm. because my thoughts are not so loud. And so just to be able to tap into that bliss and that freedom and to actually like feel joy, you know, like one of the best memories was when first starting to be able to create new memories, but still didn't remember my whole life and had no sense of self whatsoever. Went to the beach and had no memory of ever being at the beach, even though she had gone during the healing and I didn't remember it. Gone to the beach, grew up around the beach, had been to the beach many years, for like 15 years of her beginning years of life. No memory of ever seeing the ocean. Got there crying with joy, ran into the waves, laughing and crying with joy. Stayed at the beach for 16 hours, laughing and crying with joy. Like, that's what we're meant to experience, but we forget. And we forget so young that we've forgotten that we forgot. And if we don't know what we've forgotten, kind of like my past self, when she didn't actually know she couldn't remember her life, when we don't even realize that we've forgotten, how can we have the chance to remember? And that's a big part of the soul awakening is, what is life if there is only love? Who are you if you had always been seen and loved? Who are you if you had always been valued and wanted? Who are you if you had always been safe and stable and sustained? Who are you if you had always been recognized and respected? Who are you if you had always felt the fulfillment of your inner needs from unconditional love, where there's no, it's not temporary, it's not inconsistent, it's not contingent on something. You have to behave this way in order to get the love, or, oh, I'm too busy to give you the love, or whatever it might be in the human experience. But who would you be right here, right now, if that childhood version of you and every part in between then and now had always felt the fulfillment of your inner needs from unconditional love? What kind of somatic emotions would be your natural state of internal navigation? And that's the purpose of the journey that I lead my one-on-one clients through. And so to have that unified connection within the totality of all that we are, to feel the innate worthiness, the unconditional enoughness, that intrinsic belonging. Because when we don't have that worthiness, it's hard to enjoy the moment. It's hard to be grounded in our body. It's hard to, I wrote down a couple more examples. Because with my memory, I don't remember what it felt like. I was like, wait, what does that feel like at the, I know what it feels like on the other side, but I need to really work hard to remember where it is at the beginning of this. But if someone offers you a gift, for example, your capacity to receive that, you know, if you're selling a painting that you've painted it for $50 and someone comes and says, I want to give you $1,000 for it. And you're like, no, it's only $50. I am only worthy of receiving $50 is what you're saying.
Right.
And the person says, but I see the value of who you are, and I see the value of your art, and I want to support the value of your art, and I respect the value of your art, which is what they're saying, even if they're not saying it directly. And then body mind navigation says, I don't see my value, so I can't accept that you see my value. I don't respect myself, so I cannot honor that you actually respect me. And that's a lot of times how we move through life. And so if you're selling a painting for $50, someone offers you $1,000 for it, and you're like, I don't know how to accept that. I feel ashamed or guilty or uncomfortable or awkward or dismissive or skeptical or judgment. Like, okay, what's the catch? You don't know how to accept love even when it's there waiting for you. And so there's so many ways that being disconnected from that worthiness and that belonging and that just that unconditional enoughness, you know, like when you're having a hard day, is it, I'm enough when I get the house clean. I'm enough when I get these emails responded to. I'm enough when I have done this many posts online. I'm enough when I've caught up with my podcast episodes. I'm enough when I'm there for my best friend who's going through something harder than what I'm going through. You know, but to just breathe and be like, you know what? If there's me existing here and there's no experience and there's no one and nothing happening, I'm still enough. And to be able to actually feel that in your body where it actually changes the regulation of your natural breathing patterns, you know, like to feel it on that level of the somatic depth of your being, and that empowered confidence and unapologetic authenticity and that ferocious freedom to take up space and fully be you, like you strutting it on that runway, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. To be able to be up there. And there's a sense of ecstasy. There's a sense of fulfillment. There's a sense of like, I'm powerful, and not in like a mind way of like, I'm really smart, so I have power, but like felt in your body. Like if you exercise or if you speak, and like you're saying, speaking on stage kind of thing, or you're doing that runway walk, you feel the power of your being. You feel the vibration of your life force, you know? And for that to be our natural state where you're not ever living in self-doubt or being self-conscious or self-critical or self-judgmental, like that's not even a paradigm that could possibly exist in your world. Like that's the goal. And to be able to feel awe and wonder and magic and joy and passion and pleasure and play inside of your body. Like when I look around and I see adults having fun or doing something enjoyable, they're never fully in their body, ever. Like I could feel it from a freaking million miles away. Like it's just like screaming in the field of energy. They're not even inside of their body to experience this, you know, but that's become such a normal thing because we live in our mind, or we're, you know, sedentary lifestyles, or a lot of time spent on computers, or whatever it might be. You know, you don't know how to be inside of your body, and that limits the capacity for feeling. You know, if you ask someone what kind of emotions they're going through or something, you know, what's the somatic emotion tied to that? It's like, somatic emotion, I think this. I don't know the somatic emotion you're talking about. I don't know feelings in my body. That's not something that's been on my radar probably ever in my life, right? Like we're just so disconnected, and that's not normal. It's publicized as normal. I don't really know, because like I literally lived in a hole for 7 years and didn't interact with any other humans. So like I don't know what's normal, but apparently so much of what's normal is you're disconnected. Well, of course, that's just life.
Yeah, right.
Of course you don't feel boundless joy. That's just life. Of course you don't feel passion in your life. That's just life. No, it's not. It's not supposed to be that way. Souls would not choose to wait in a metaphorical line, excited to come into the human experience, if there isn't meant to be some like juicy goodness that's like somatically experienced, because you can experience mental thoughts in the plane of consciousness where you don't have to be in a body. Like that's a whole other topic. But if you go into like consciousness and soul essence, you can exist on the mental plane without a body. That's not what we're here for. We're here to experience life through our body, but you can't do that if you're not in your body. And then there's more awe, wonder, magic, joyful passion, pleasure, and play. And that's where you get those moments where you're able to stop and look at the veins on a leaf, and everything else stands still. Everything else stands still. You are literally in a moment that you can somatically feel the eternity of it. Imagine being able to somatically sense the eternity of a moment. Like that's everything. Like infinite mic drops. I don't need anything else. I somatically experienced eternity. And it felt like heaven on earth. Like, check that off my friggin' to-do list, baby. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're here for. And that's what we're here to normalize, so that our future generations are like, what's life about? How do you live life? In every moment of every day, you experience awe and magic and wonder and joy and passion and pleasure and play and embodied, empowered confidence and the exuberant expansion of your own embodied expression in every moment. Oh, but what's a mental health disorder? We don't have any of those here, baby. We are thriving in body, mind, soul unity. We are in harmony with life, in harmony with each other, in harmony with all that we are. And we are in the fullest joy and manifestation of the co-creation of the intention of our eternal soul made manifest in this physical, finite human form, to leave a fingerprint on the planet that ripples across time, dimension, space, and reality, to positively impact dimensions beyond what we can fathom. That's what life is. You know, imagine that being normal. Imagine that being the status quo. And anything less than that is like, oh my gosh, you're so weird, instead of it being vice versa.
Right. Right.
And then yeah, and to have that power in the storybook of our life. One of the things that I always emphasize is, are you proud of the story that you're perpetuating? Because I could easily sit here and say, my life was literally over before it began. I experienced severe sexual abuse at age 4. And before I even had a sense of identity, my entire sense of self, my entire mind and body experience was all about distortions of sexuality and abuse, and not being in my body, and being a victim, and being an object of, you know, inappropriate, you know, all the stuff that goes along with that. And then, here I am, and I've literally lost the last 10 years of my life trying to heal from complex trauma. That could very easily be my story. And I will never, ever tell that story, except for the moments where I say, this isn't my story. Because the story I'm perpetuating is I got to meet the manifestation of my inner child. And that wouldn't have been possible if that childhood trauma didn't happen. I got to meet my manifestation, a manifestation of my actual childhood self coming out in physical human form in my late 20s, which is weird to say because I have no memories of my late 20s. I got to meet my childhood self. I got to get to know her. And I got to go know what it's like to be in the mind of a 2-year-old and the mind of a 4-year-old before life tells you what life is supposed to be and who you are. And I got to experience that somatically in my body. What a gift. And I got to spend the last 10 years of my life teaching myself neuroscience, piecing together impossible experiences. I mean, I discovered the neuroscience of dissociative identity disorder. Like, it can literally explain the neuroscience of living with multiple inner persons. I don't think that's something that exists on the planet. My work goes beyond it, so that's not my focus. But I spent the last 10, I had the opportunity, I had the privilege, I had the pleasure of studying unconscious memories because that's all that was being created for half a decade. I had the privilege, the pleasure, and the opportunity to teach myself neuroscience and to piece together new ideas from my experiences in a way that I know things that you could never possibly learn from decades going to school, And I got to create treasure maps, baby.
Yeah.
and marathon journeys that allow you to transform your life. Like, the marathon journeys were originally called a brain incubator because the version of me who was like on the other side of stuff, beginning of 2021, couldn't remember her life and everything. She was like, I literally have so much healing to do. There's no way I'm going to get to all the healing that I have. I literally just want a brain incubator. I'm going to take my brain out of my head, stick it in an incubator, sit back, relax, shoot the breeze, watch the clouds, and then ding, the timer goes off in the incubator. It's made all these new neural networks, and then I can just put it back on my brain and boom, I'm healed. And that's literally what she created through the marathons. I'd go in a marathon, practice a certain process, and literally within 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, just depending on the stage of the journey, how much there was to transform, there was a clear transformation of neural networks where the somatic experiences were different, could remember more of life and not be bombarded by unprocessed sensations from experience, could think new thoughts I've never thought before because there were new neural networks to support that experience, could feel a greater depth of emotion and joy and pleasure and peace and freedom than was previously accessible a couple hours ago. Like, that's what the marathons can do. And so what story are we perpetuating in our life, and how can we reclaim power and authority within that? And how can it be a story that we're proud to perpetuate? Yeah. So that's the journey I facilitate for my one-on-one clients.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you for holding space. I'm so thankful.
Absolutely. Where can people find you?
Yes. Instagram would be the number one place to go. And then I also have YouTube channel. And then there's a place that you can schedule a session with me. I do offer single sessions, or you can schedule a miracle meeting, which is a free complimentary call to discuss a 3 or 6 month journey. And there's also the links I shared you. I don't know if those will be shared in the show notes or the description. There's a link that shares more about the details of the 3 or 6 month one-on-one mentorship journey, kind of goes through everything that's included, everything I shared in a simple, at a glance sort of a way.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. We'll share all of your links and where they can find you, everything. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes. One more last little thing.
Yeah.
In the links, there will be a merchandise store, and kind of a fun little quick story with that is the merchandise store was created when living with multiple states of inner persons with dissociative identity disorder, something that's described actually as the adaptable consciousness condition, which is a more accurate term once you know the neuroscience of it. And so when living with a multi-conscious mosaic mind is how she described it, where there's 20 different people inside of one body, which is so interesting to say. Then she had 2 different t-shirts that kind of represented that. And then came out the other side of all that healing. That was 2019. And then in 2021, the beginning of the case study that I actually have memory of consciously and lucidly, coherently and continuously, she returned to that and was like, this is cool. I'd like to make a shirt. And so she made a shirt that said, I'm using my brain to understand my brain, and I'm using my body to heal my body. And so she made this shirt, and she was like, this is actually kind of cool. And then she made 100 other designs. And the journey of creating those was the journey of healing my brain. Every single one of the t-shirt designs and the mugs and the little pencil cases was a step of integration, as there was this transformation in autumn of 2021, which is really when the me that I am now actually began to exist and started actually recovering memories from early childhood. And that's when the decision was made. Okay, I have my good childhood memories, and I have me now. I'm letting go of everything else, and I'm choosing that every single moment of every single day. And so the merchandise shared there, it's 100 original designs. They're so fun. And so even if, your audience isn't like ready for like a one-on-one session and like a deep dive of stuff, you go get yourself a t-shirt, baby. You go get yourself a mug. And then you can also support the work that I do in that way and kind of share these things. There's some affirmations and mantras and stuff. But it's all about loving liberation so that we can know the ecstatic love and liberated wholeness of our true self, and to know the essence of who we would be right here and now if that childhood self had always known unconditional love, always known that ecstatic wholeness and liberated wholeness and ecstatic love of the true self. So yeah, the merchandise store is the other link that will be shared there.
Okay. Yes. Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so much fun. Thank you for holding this space.
Absolutely. Absolutely.